Okay, so good day, ladies and gentlemen, my friends, my listeners all across the world. Yeah, today is another day. Looking for a band to talk about since we are still talking about the bands of the 70s. You know, the guys that did uh, music in the 70s. Just looking for any of the bands to talk about. So considering the Strangers, One World, or Action Funk ensemble. I think I'll consider any of them, but I just feel like just freestyling about what we are doing and what the whole industry thing is all about. The whole podcasting thing, the whole reason behind music in my ears, the reasons behind um, doing this podcast to celebrate the legends of the time past, the legends of Nigerian music. You know. By the way, my name is Joseph Asipo. I changed my name, the anchor, creator, of this podcast. I record anywhere, any place I find myself. This is my studio. This is where all the magic happens. It's my phone. It's all about. I don't have anything. Then maybe sometimes my laptop. So I happen to find myself in the cities of between Enugu and Owerri, and I've recorded episodes in these two places, apart from my primary base, which is Lagos. But when you come to the east, these two cities, I think I'm very privileged to be able to record episodes where a lot of the bands we're talking about in the 70s actually were based. Yeah, mentioned it before, like Enugu was the base for a starting point for some of the artists, some of the bands. Then Owerri happens also to be the home of some of the bands like the Strangers, you know. So I think I might end up with Strangers. So, but still talking about music of the time past. See, the thing is, the thing to me is just the nostalgia. Apart from the main goal of doing what we are doing, which is just to present things the way we have a little knowledge about. Because if not for internet, I think it would have been a very, very difficult thing for us to be able to retrieve history. I remember I was trying to do this in a book format, but sourcing information was something else. It has gotten better because it seems the awareness increased and people now started pushing out some historical facts about music online. But to actually source other materials have been difficult. So that's one of the reasons we are doing what we are doing in Music in My Ears, capping it as Nigerian Music History Stories podcast. So you can actually hear the bits we know, we actually communicate the bits we know in a way, what I put it, I would say documented oral history, oral tradition. Those days before they canceled history in Nigerian schools, we learned about the way our forefathers kept record was by oral tradition. So we are trying to do oral tradition, but thank God for technology. We are able to document our own or record our own oral tradition. We're not going to pass down like our forefathers did, passing down from one place for one person to another person to another person, and the messages sometimes get lost in between. So we are lucky to have platforms. We can actually um, record what we feel. You can write if you need to write. You can also um, do podcasts. You can video blog, you know, on YouTube and the rest. Or have your own blogs that you write or write a book. These days it's equally easy to publish. Just upload files and you go. So that's that. But the support we still need from our viewers is that subscription. We need the subscription. We need the likes. We need your comments, because if we don't have comments, we may not be able to improve. I'm not a technology or media person. I'm basically a scientist, you know, in health, you know. But when you do things out of passion, you learn. You have to devise ways of getting things done. In the course of doing this, I've been able to, you know, get my hands on video editing, even recording, you know, just do it, just learn it as you go, as I go by. So the encouragement we just need is the like, the subscribe. Right now, I need subscription. I need likes. I need followers on AudioMac. AudioMac. If you are streaming on AudioMac, I need followers on AudioMac. There's a reason. I need in all the platforms, but for now, I'm particular about AudioMac. So if you stream music on AudioMac, just look for J Asipo. That is my handle there. Click that follow button. When you find my handle, it's music by ears also, but it's AudioMac / J Asipo. So kindly do that, and we'll appreciate it. So that's that for this freestyle. The band I actually wanted to speak about is the Strangers. You know, the Strangers were based in Owerri. So it's one of those bands again that fall out of the military. In fact, they were seriously backed by the military, by the 14th Brigade in Owerri area. There's a certain Colonel Olaoni that majorly sponsored them, and this band they were around from the 60s into the 70s, and they really got the support of the military, and were also able to entertain the people around the area, people that felt the pangs of the Civil War, people that were disillusioned or had faced a lot of, you know, upheaval, challenges arising from the war. So this particular band, they were, you know, there to entertain the people, entertain the military, and make sure life went on, you know, giving some kind of psychological relief to the people. So I'll stop now and try to fit in one or two things from the Strangers. When I come back, I will get back to the story proper. Meanwhile, uh, meanwhile, if on YouTube, you may not be able to listen to the songs of the Strangers, but you can always follow the main podcast. This is just a video backup, a video recording to back up the podcast. And the podcast is at anchor.fm/Joseph-Asipo. Anchor.fm /Joseph-Asipo. That's the podcast side. Or you can always go to www.musicinmyears.com. That is the podcast website. So you get the full, you know, full recordings. This equally a reason it has to do with some kind of we don't want YouTube to block our recordings. We would love to leave it, because if you are listening or you're viewing all these episodes on YouTube, the the credits to the videos that will play, to the music we'll play, actually goes to the artist. You know, if they say anything to end, it goes to the artist. But and for me, it's not well defined at the moment, so that's why sometimes I just let it slide. But on the main podcast, this is a music and talk recording. So the credits, the goes for the song is equally going to the artist or the band or the rights owner. So they, if they say anything to end, they end it, and it's well defined because it is a music and talk platform. So that is it. So kindly go to the podcast or the podcast website and listen, get the full recording of this episode. So stay tuned. When we get back, I'll jump into the strangers properly. Thank you for staying tuned. Okay, you're welcome back. That was the strangers. The first song we played there from the band is called "Nobody Called Me." It was a popular track released in 1972 on EMI HMV imprint of EMI 1972. So, who were these strangers? These people that are called the same strangers. And I've already said that they were a military-supported band, you know, based in Owerri, we're in southeast of Nigeria, that were there to support the military and to entertain the people that were affected by the long, 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 painful war, Nigerian Civil War, that took about 3 years before it ended. So the strangers, the primary members were actually part of the hikers, talking specifically about the man they call Bob Miga. Bob Miga, otherwise known as Bob Agim. That's a full name. Let me get the full name. Full name of Bob Miga is Valentine Soribe Agim. That's his full name. So he's the one that actually started the stranger. But before then, he was with the hikers. So at the end of the Civil War, the move was for hikers to go back to Lagos from the east, but Bob Miga preferred to be in Owerri. So then he now decided to pull some other guys together and form the Strangers. So the Strangers, their lineup is long, you know. Not, normally they keep on switching bands in and out. So, but basically, you had Bob Miga himself, you had Annie Hoffner, you had Gab Chima Azani, you have Jeffrey Madebo, you had Joe Arukwe, you had Johnny Hastrop. Johnny Hastrop. Those of us that have listened to the story of Mono Mono, you remember Johnny Hastrop. Yeah, Johnny Hastrop is a Yoruba guy. Was the founder of Mono Mono, but he had stints with some other bands, including the Strangers, and was a big name. Was a big name, big guy, superstar, you know, of the West African music scene. So he was actually part of the Strangers. And you now have Samuel Ifeanyi, Eze Makin, Samuel Matthew, Tony Vance, and Timmy Nebua. That's another name. Timmy Nebua is. I happen to follow him on Facebook. I think he's based in the US. He still throws in stuff about music, but I didn't know he was his heavyweight of the industry way back to the 70s. So that's basically the lineup for the Strangers. So we've just listened to the Strangers. Incidentally, the band did not release albums for the period they recorded. They didn't have they used to come out with singles, you know. So like even the Nobody Called Me was a single, 1972, on the HMV EMI label. So without wasting another time, let's get back. I want to do a double this time around. A single they released, on one side they had Survival, on the other side they had I'm So Lonely. So we'll just do a double and listen to the two songs. When we come back, we'll continue with their story. Stay tuned. So you're welcome back. That was a double from the Strangers. You know, thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening to us on Music in My Ears podcast on Nigerian music history, where we share nostalgia. You know, this nostalgia business is big. If you can imagine that whole radio stations here in Nigeria are dedicated to sharing nostalgia, or selling nostalgia. And some of us are hooked to such radio stations. We hardly change our dial, but here we are sharing nostalgia with you from our own point of view, from the way we understood what the music industry was all about, from a layman's point of view, even though we have been able to share a little bit of our credentials. We are pushing to do a retro release of an album we recorded way back for an artist called Gabriel Ashibi, Breeze. That the singles are out on radio station and some Nigerian station, and the full album will be out on all digital platforms across the world precisely on the 25th of September. It's a Sunday by 12 a.m. That album will be out. So look out for it. Gabriel Ashibi, Timeless is the title of the album on Ethnic House Entertainment. One. So, going back to the Strangers, this, I said they never released full albums. They were all on singles. What we listened to was just reversed two songs on a single. So the band, yeah, they didn't really have so much time until they split. So they started late in the 60s and into the 70s, but they did not come out with albums for us to really feel them fully. But of course, they played the normal circuits, the normal live thing, going about the different parts of the country, playing venues, sometimes the school premises, sometimes the regular hall. You know, when we were growing up, we actually experienced these school things because, like me, I grew up in school, so once in a while, you discovered the organizers will fence off or use palm fronts, block the venue doors and windows when these bands are coming to entertain. That was our own O2 Arena and all that in the time past. So the Strangers, they scored a relative big hit with a song called Love Rock. That seems to have been their most popular song, Love Rock. It was released equally around 1972. And after that, it seems the band, some of the members of the band started going their different ways. Some, there's even the controversy that probably Bob Miga himself was part of One World. That's another band, but it looks more like some members of the band moved to form One World. Another band that we'll be featuring very soon to look at, probably the next one, to look at the influence of the Strangers. They are moving from the Strangers to One World. What did they bring to the table when they moved to One World? But all the same, Bob Miga was still being known as the main leader, the songwriter of the Strangers. But he later moved to the UK late in the 70s and lived there until his death in 2014. He passed on in 2014. I was very back here in Nigeria. So, as a befitting tribute to the great man, it's my pleasure to play their very popular tune, Love Rock. Maybe some of us will remember that one. It was, if you had ears to on your ground for music, and you are my age range, though you would have been a young person, maybe in your 6, 7. But if you had ears for music, you surely uh, remember this particular song, especially if you lived in the southeast or what we know as South South now in Nigeria. This song was a hit. Please listen. When we come back, we'll wrap things up for this episode. Thank you. Okay. So, good day, ladies and gentlemen, my friends, my listeners all across the world. Yeah, today is another day. Looking for a band to talk about since we are still talking about the bands of the 70s. You know, the guys that did uh, music in the 70s. Just looking for any of the bands to talk about. So, considering the Strangers, One World, or Action Funk ensemble, I think I'll consider any of them. But I just feel like, just freestyling about what we are doing and what the whole industry thing is all about. The whole podcasting thing, the whole reason behind music in my ears, the reasons behind doing this podcast to